Morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. This is the Estuary Moments, and I am Sarah, the curatrix of Estuary Moments, and I'm glad to be showing up here on video on video. And I want to come on and want to share what I channeled through. In this case, it is just this channel is just mostly reflecting more about the bit of origins of my business and what my business is all about a little bit, so people will have an idea of what I'm about little by little. And this is a start for today. And I am very aware that I have not posted anything related to the full moon readings for a while. And it's really because I've been spending a lot of time like building my social media presence a little bit and building up content to inform people about my Voxer container offering soon in a couple days and weeks. So that's what I've been up to, among other things. And on top of job searching. So that is what I've been up to. That's why I have not had a lot of time of making the full moon ritual videos, but I am setting attention of returning them some to. It's just that I have not been uh I've been honestly consumed by launching my Voxer container offering, which will be uh if you want to see the announcement that's good about that in a couple of weeks, and when the doors are opening you can go to it my Instagram and Facebook page of the Estuary Moments for more information about it at the moment. So with that out of the way, with that housekeeping out of the way, I do want to get into what led me to starting out naming the Estuary Moments, and where did it come from, or what inspired me to name it. It came from listening to a talk by an arts advocate, Makoto Fujimura, who specializes in art and faith and public conversation about art and faith and culture care, which I'm very passionate about. Art and spirituality, particularly Christianity, and art in particular, and creativity and creation, culture creation, and art advocate. And this was at in a Fuller Theological Seminary room of students. This was recorded a couple of years ago when he used to help out the cultural institute that was housed by Fuller. And there was a conversation, the importance of culture making. That's the theme. And listened to a couple of panelists at the time, and I don't completely remember everything what it's about, but it is a discussion of how to engage in the world, and that's the theme. And how can art, in this context, like bring be as supportive in building culture and faith, faith and spirituality, since historically within Western Christian context and American context, like for the last couple of years, art is more seen as propaganda. A lot of it, which Mako opposes that idea, opposes creativity art that way. And in this discussion of how do we move away from this this idea of creativity and art being being seen in what you would call it, way where it's just a means to an end things in a very utilitarian way that, well, there's nothing wrong with being utilitarian, but if it doesn't include beauty, it ends up being used to just, it's actually make like obedient workers is what he is Bako's opposing, and how a lot of faith traditions, even Christians, near Christians and non-Christian faith traditions have succumbed to using art like this and everything else like this into utilitarian obedient workers. Although he didn't use the language of obedient workers, but that's what utilitarianism, unfortunately, the logic was, as I observed this. And it led to the importance of using this metaphor called estuaries, and the importance of artists and art and people who are art practitioners being the estuaries of culture. This is the first time I heard the estuaries in this language before, but as is Makoto Fuji is explaining this concept to the people, and you have to remember that people who he's talking to are basically culturally savvy Christians who don't fit in mainstream church, but nor mainstream culture, but nor the problematic nature of subculture. So they're like out of place everywhere, is who he's talking to, and the crowd that is talking to when discussing about art and art practices being cultural and spiritual estuaries are a group of people who realize that a lot of mystery culture of art sucks, but church is not any better. It also sucks. And subcultures replicate oppressive and utilitarian nonsense. So it's like these are the kind of artistic people of faith types that don't really would catch on to him in Fuller. And watching the recorded video, he explained that, if I remember correctly, that he explained estuaries is when fresh water and salt water mixed. This is usually when the rivers meet the ocean and there is some kind of marshland or enclosed land that has to go through for the river to in order to meet the ocean. But through meeting the ocean, there's a special body of water that is unique, and that's called the estuary. And by the nature of the mix of freshwater and salt water, it also creates a space for life that can go in between, that can only be birthed if they were in an estuary, and it creates its own ecosystem that is super unique, and it can create a good buffer that can help transition from the river, the fresh water, to the salt water. But before that, the ocean, that particular body that is a mix of fresh water and salt water, becomes its own thing, its own water body, its own ecosystem that borderlands between river and ocean, that borderlands between freshwater and saltwater, but it became its own thing, and then it creates a vibrant ecosystem of its own that can as buffers in between. And traditionally, oceanographers call this, and ecosystem nerds will call this the nurseries of the sea, because it kind of acts like a nursery, but also acts as a crossover point for the ocean, for the freshwater area to the saltwater, but it's still its own thing. And that's how he tried to explain it. And he uses an analogy for artists and arts practitioners and creative practitioners and creative workers in that context. of being an ecosystem to work with both fresh and salt water, but being their own thing, being their own thing, but not in being exclusive from other things. And what's calling for this that we need to see the benefit of estuary like cultures and people that can act as a bridge, but it's not through being separate or through being assimilated or through being its own sovereign thing, but it's still connected to salt water and fresh water, but its own body. And artists function as borderland people in that way, and that how that kind of can teach us a lot about culture care, can teach us about about creating generative spaces and generative faith and culture, and was talking to this analogy mostly from his own experiences as someone who grew up in America and Japan, and be multilingual and bilingual. And so he proposed that, and as I was hearing that, it led me to realize like it stuck with me on that resonate with me on just not having to choose both, but you're your own thing, where you have multiplicities aspects of yourself that I shouldn't fit anyway in all circumstances. Like to be a comprehensive person, to be a multifaceted person, as nowadays doesn't to be a multifaceted person, but still be truly core your identity is doesn't may not seem is still not always welcomed or understood or always encouraged to be multifaceted and still be but still have a strong sense of self and connection to yourself. It's as I so during the Estuary moments, I excuse me, I resonate with that. I have always resonated with it, and the energy of this own borderland water space. That's its own space, but it's still connected to both sides, and it's providing like that generative space that multiple bodies of art could learn. And so that is what led me to come up is that it always resonated with me. And plus, I like to name things that are of nature as my titles of this of natures of titles as much as possible to have a more symbolic and concrete, both concrete and symbolic things. And even if it may not seem obvious to people at first, but but the spirit and behind it makes sense. I would say not my products or services, they'll be much more straightforward. But in terms of my the business spirit of my business, it kind of I did like to use like things of nature to describe them, or archetypes and things to describe it. And Estuary Moments fits because am thinking about crossroads in this particular way, and initiation in a particular way, and the importance of initiating yourself as a form of self leadership in that way, and using spiritual work as a form of self initiation that way. So I was honestly using like what resonated with me, and that's the body of water. And so that is why I end up using it, and that's where it came from. It originally came from Arts Africa and Makoto Fujimura. I mean, estuaries have been around forever, but the usage of as a metaphor for initiation and crossroads and borderland on the borderlands and on the margins is originally Makoto Fujimura like came up with, used as a metaphor for it, and I decided to make it the name of my business. So that is where it came from, and that's how it came from. I hope that this this vlog and this story and this blog, this story and this info has been helpful. Um, I would like to tell more, but right now I want to end here, and I hope that this update is helpful, and send you all lots of love. I will vlog more when more things are called to be channeled for longer term, and so look forward to that, and I will see you all soon. Talk to you all later. Bye.